Are you ready to learn the 3 secrets to launching a successful podcast? Hi, I'm Bill, a recent client of the Podcast Mogul. If you've been thinking about starting a podcast but aren't sure where to begin, he's got you covered. He is hosting a free webinar where he will share the 3 secrets that can help you launch, grow, and monetize your podcast without any fancy equipment or technical headaches. Click the link in the show notes to save your spot now and let him help get your podcast off the ground.
You're listening to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast, brought to you by Feel Better Inc. If you want to take your podcast to the next level, make sure you book your free 15-minute call with Phil Better, the podcast mogul, at www.philbetterinc.com. Welcome to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. I am, of course, Phil Better, the podcast mogul, and today I have a very special guest with me, Kyle Slaymaker. He already sounds like a badass just with his name. Kyle, please give yourself a short introduction to my audience so that they know how badass you really are.
Yeah, well, Kyle Slaymaker, founder and owner of the Slaymaker Method, globally recognized sales strategy firm based out of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, in the good old United States, in the heart of Amish country. Iraqi war veteran. That's it. That's me in a nutshell. So I am pretty badass. I appreciate that.
Look, you not only are you a worldwide recognized sales strategist, you got a #1 book on Amazon, and you're a vet. So my hat's off to you on each one of those, but specifically the vet, because I do love, my grandparents fought in the Second World War. I have a huge respect for all people who are willing to go out there and put their lives on the line so that I don't have to.
I think the my veteran status is the only thing about me that I don't find surprising. Still, to me, it's like that's totally normal. But everything else, I'm like, I can't believe I'm here.
Right? No, but that's what's so great about being an entrepreneur. You end up getting these extra accolades on that you never thought you would have, or you end up landing a client that you never knew you would have. Like I just landed a huge client, my biggest client to date, and I was like, oh my god, so nervous the whole time, but I was trying to keep cool.
Yeah.
So I get it. It's just a mind fuck pretty much.
It is. It really is. As long as you drop the F-bomb, that means we're gonna have some fun.
Yeah,
I
only have one.
I can
hard
be
rule.
myself.
Yeah, one hard rule: no C. The hard C is the one thing that I don't allow, unless you're Aussie or British or Irish. Can't really stop you then. So
I don't think I fall in any of those categories. Actually, I think I might fall into the Irish category, but you don't have to worry. I have a wife, and she's upstairs, and she will hear it like a hawk. Yeah, she'll be like, "What did you just say?"
It's him. He said it, not me.
Yeah, like the guy on the screen.
Yeah, blame him. Kyle, first of all, thank you so much for being a guest on the show. I'm glad we connected. We've connected a while on Facebook, and you reached out to me when you saw one of my other amazing podcasts that I do, because I have too many podcasts to even have a life. But I wanted you on this podcast specifically because you're an entrepreneur. You're recognized all over the world, and your group is one of the most positive places I've been in, and I'm part of a lot of entrepreneur groups. So thank you for that. Let's start with what got you started being an entrepreneur?
Oh, man, that's quite the story. Part necessity, part let's see if I can do it. And I was also kind of nudging my wife to go into entrepreneurship because I knew she was just absolutely incredible at what she does. And I was hoping that if she saw me take that leap, she would also take that leap. And then we'll just say magic happened, I guess. You know, to quote the old cribs that you and I probably used to watch on MTV. This is where the magic happens.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
every house.
Every house. This is where the magic happens. The kitchen. This is where the magic happens. All that. So you jumped into it. Did you have any previous, like, were you always entrepreneurial when you were younger, like starting small businesses or starting side hustles, or was this something completely new, going from a 9-to-5 to doing your own thing?
Well, another good question. Well, you're hitting them hard right out of the gate.
Oh,
Phil.
yeah, that's what I like. Get them hard, get them loose, and then the easy questions comes later.
So yes and no. I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, right? I always wanted to have that, now global dream, right? It's not just the American dream of finding success as an entrepreneur. It's something that almost everybody wants all over the world. But I never really had any true focus or knew how I was going to do it. Like when I was 15, I was going to do it by being a stand-up comedian. That worked horrifically, horrifically. Right? I did like 2 stand-up sets in the first one. My mom came up to me after it and she was like, "I will never ever go see you ever again. You are disgusting. Don't ever talk like that."
Wow.
And I'm like, I probably did my job then, right?
I hit something. I got emotion.
Exactly. And then when I was in the Navy, I kind of I shied away from it because you didn't have a choice of being an entrepreneur. There was the Navy, and that was it. Came back, and I got the bright idea to start an event planning business that lasted all but about 3 seconds. That was, one of my other many failures.
Most people don't like big events, eh?
I don't, I look back at some of the choices I've made in my life, and I feel like I've made very few correct ones. But I've learned the most from the ones that were the wrong choices. So my event planning company was definitely a learning experience.
Yeah, and this is what I've been finding with the interviews I've been doing with entrepreneurs. And I started pretty much this podcast because I didn't know how to be an entrepreneur. Like my parents are 9-to-5ers. I've surrounded myself with 9-to-5ers. So being like one of those people who take that giant risk and quits the 9-to-5, goes ham into the entrepreneur world, I never had anybody around me. So I started this podcast specifically to learn from experts like yourself, entrepreneurs who are further along in the game than I am. And I always get a chuckle when I say like experts like yourself to my guests because they're like, "No, I'm not an expert. I just know how to fail really well."
Yeah. It's so interesting you say that, right? Because one of my we'll call her a de facto client. She's my photographer / videographer. She records all my YouTube content. She's just phenomenal. And we were talking yesterday or 2 days ago, and I don't know what she said, but I just looked at her. I was like, "Look, you should know by now. I am just flying by the seat of my pants." Right? Every time I think, "All right, I've got it handled. Everything's good. We're gonna maintain this pace," and then it's just like, boom, takes off like a rocket, and you're like, "What do I do
now?"
Yeah. So I mean, if you want to call me an expert, anybody that knows me, my ego is huge, right? So feel free to call me an expert.
Well,
I won't say no.
One thing I've noticed with entrepreneurs and podcasters, because they're both in the same kind of boat, they all have narcissistic tendencies. So it's not surprising that the ego is huge. My ego is huge as well. Like just getting the clients and that from that, I'm like, I can do it. And then you're like, okay, what do I do now that I have the client?
That's such an important part of entrepreneurship too, right? And it's not even just like service provider and client based, right? It's anything in customer, right? So if you're like in the service industry, kind of like I am, if you're in consulting, I hate saying consulting.
It's a dirty word now. I'm an entrepreneur.
It is. Yeah. Consulting, coaching, it's like, okay. But when you land that first client, no matter how big or how small, that first paying client, you're like, oh my gosh, there's something to this. Mm-hmm. I really can do this. This is amazing. I believe my Labrador is probably in the background slurping up water right now.
I love dogs, so it's quite all right. I miss having a dog.
She's so fat.
They tend to get that big.
That's you'll love this story if you love dogs. I got her. Good Lord. I got her. There was all these big floods down in Mississippi years ago, and I rescued her from these floods when she was like 10 weeks old. And good Lord. And there you can kind of see her fat ass walking in the background. And they said, oh, she won't get more than 70 pounds, maybe 80. She's a lab, right? We took her to the vet the other week, and the vet is like, okay, so we're gonna get her down to 100 first, and then we're gonna go further. And I'm like, wow, I'm a terrible dog owner, and now I feel horrible because they're like, if she eats any human food, you have to subtract it from her real food.
Oh God,
right? This dog hasn't eaten any dog food in God knows how long.
Since you got her, pretty much.
I found she's got like this little buffet stash like right underneath me that I just found today.
Smart dog. Smart dog.
She is. Oh, very intelligent.
Yeah, labs are the dangerous ones because they're so smart. I had a golden lab and a golden retriever, so I know how smart and dangerous they are. Miss the dogs.
Yeah.
So I want to touch on something that I'm looking here. I'm looking at it saying one of the questions I asked you was like, what would you consider your favorite failure? And you put selling water softeners. I need a bit more on that.
I started selling water softeners. I figured it was time to expand my career into, selling something else at the time. And the first thing I discovered is I hate water softeners.
Surprising.
The second, I know. Can you believe it? Like, and the people that were there, like, it was a small family-owned business. I still to this day love everybody there. They're all good. It was not a fit for me, right? But I realized if I don't like what I sell, if I don't believe and have that passion in the product that I'm working with, I'm not going to do shit. Right? And that's one of the first things I tell people, right? When I'm working with teams or I'm working with individuals and they're like, I know I can sell, I can't sell this product. Well, tell me about it. And they'll describe it to me, and it's like they're describing a lethal injection.
Jeez.
Right? They're just like, well, and then it does this, and then it fixes this problem. And you're like, what? Of course you're not selling. Nobody wants to buy from that. You don't like what you're selling. Go find something else to sell. Believe in what you're doing. That was easily one of the biggest moments in my career. Easily. Best failures.
I found that out too when like last year COVID hit. I was like, okay, I'm going to get into the entrepreneur world. So I started delving into trying to figure out, do like the affiliate marketing, the drop shipping, trying all these amazing things that people are getting rich off of. And then it's like, yeah, I don't care about any of this.
I love I made so much money doing this. I made so much. We've even got coaches for coaches now. We've got consultants for consultants.
Yeah.
It's just like, come on. You see those Facebook videos of like these like 10-year-old kids driving Lamborghinis and they get out and they're like, your business sucks. And you're like, okay, we get it.
Okay, 10-year-old, you bought someone's course, you're reselling the course pretty much, and that's how you made your money.
Never ends. Never ends. It's an interesting world we live in now.
Yeah, and I feel this is kind of like the .com bubble all over again, except it's the Facebook bubble, if you will, and they're permeating into LinkedIn now, and
that's actually a way I never thought of it, but I think you're absolutely right.
The only reason I thought like that was because I moderate a group of investors, beginner investors in the stock market. And in the mod chat we're talking about like the crypto craze going on right now and everybody wanting to get in on that. And we know the bubble's bursting because last year there was a flood of fake money, if you will, free money into the market. So everything was going up. Everybody was selling something. And we know the correction's coming as soon as the world reopens and everything gets back to normal. Like by next year, it's going to be another crash or something like that. The .com boom is done. So
yeah, I learned that maybe that's my second biggest failure was trying to do my own investing.
the one like I have zero knowledge in investing. Like the only reason I got into this group was because I'm like, I'll do your podcast, and they're like, sure. So like now I just host a podcast. I don't like my investments comes from my 9 to 5. They have a RESOP where it's like buy into the company. So I have bank stocks because I work for a bank, and I'm like, that's all I know. Like, that's my investing. So, and then they're like, yeah, you want to go ETFs and specifically this ETF and stay away from crypto. And I'm like, cool. So any money I get, I'm just like throwing it into this. I don't know what it is, but I'm like,
I don't know what gets into me sometimes. I keep thinking I've got one of my financial advisor people is in my network. She's awesome. Mm-hmm. Awesome. I mean, she's incredible. But I get like, I don't want to say beer goggles, but we'll call them like money goggles.
We got some love glasses on.
Yeah, dollar love glasses. And I'm just like, oh, that's a cool name. That's probably what I should invest in. That sounds like a great way to make to invest my money. Click. And then I'm like, the next morning I'm like,
That didn't
Wrong
go
again.
as well as I planned. Yeah, it's funny. I just had another great guest on, Andrew Logan, who is into network marketing and built his business that way. And he tried to get into investing as well. And he's like, I'm just going to invest this. And he tells the story about how he put in an extra zero. Too many. Luckily, 14 hours later, because he had to fly back to Australia after the conference, right? It ended up paying off and being good.
Oh, that's incredible.
However,
that's lucky.
the next 72 hours, he lost it all. Because he's like, I can do this. Da-da-da-da. He's throwing caution to the wind. And luckily, he says he broke even at the end of the week. But he's like, yeah, now I just stick to the simple, plain stuff. I don't try to be complicated.
It's so interesting. Like, I listened to, I doubt he'd be upset if I promoted his podcast. Maybe you would.
No. I love anything that's educational is allowed on my podcast.
I'm a huge fan of the Tim Ferriss show. I am a huge fan. You got his book? Is it the 4 hours? Oh, you got. Oh, dude.
I got the Tools of the Titan. The 4 hours. I wanted
Tim
to pick
Ferriss.
it up. He's a genius. He's one of my
awesome.
Top guests. I want. He's like my dream for this because he kind of inspired this one.
He is awesome, and his guest. I think it was an older episode. I think with one of the Koch brothers, Koch brothers.
Koch brothers or something like that. One of them.
Exactly.
One of the really rich people.
And his philosophy on investing was just so awesome to me. And that's the thing about the guests that Tim has on. Like,
there we go. My edit list growing as it goes. People are wondering, what are you editing out? A lot that's not supposed to be on air because we have to protect ourselves.
We're gonna
for
have
legal
fun.
Reasons.
But yeah, Tim Ferriss. I mean, the one episode that, and honestly, I promise you'll want to use this. The episode of his that just completely changed my life and my entrepreneurial life was the episode with McConaughey, where Matthew McConaughey was reading an excerpt from Green Lights, his book, and I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. I've already been a fan of Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah, he's an
awesome person, right? Yeah, you listen to him talk, and you're just like, oh, that's Matt, right?
I can go have a beer with him.
Exactly. And I ran out the next day, and I got Green Lights, and I just that book has just been astounding. So that episode was probably the second biggest podcast that ever changed my life.
I like that. Hopefully, someone will say that about my podcast one day. That would be the hugest honor. Maybe it'll be this episode. Something you say will change.
That's all we
life.
can. Yeah. That's all we can hope for, really. You know, I mean, don't get me wrong. As an entrepreneur, I want to make money, right?
Course.
But I like giving back. I like being able to take what has been so good to me in my career and help teach it to other people. I love seeing them succeed.
That's what's really funny is I had an earlier episode with my good friend Mick, who runs the Scene Snob Network earlier today, and his thing was like, I want to give back. I want everybody to succeed. Like, if you're passionate about what you do, I want you to succeed. And it's like, that's the same thing for me. I want everybody to succeed because there's enough food for everybody.
I'm a huge believer in there's enough success to go around. There really is.
We're no longer like we're a global community now. We're not just this is the USA, that's Canada, that's all you can sell to. No, we can sell all around the world thanks to Amazon now.
The moment that really kind of led me down this entrepreneurial path, and I don't know what that noise was. It was kind of I'll never forget it. So it's what really got me into podcasting.
Ooh, yeah.
Right? It's what started really everything for me. And I guess, depending on your crowd, potential trigger warning, right? Yeah. My little brother passed away. I want to say either 2 or 3 years now. I always try to just kind of block it a little bit.
I understand. And again, sending my condolences. It may be late, but still.
Thank you. No.
It's never easy.
It was a really hard death. It was very not that any death is really planned, right? But
It's easier
unexpected.
when it's like a 95-year-old grandparent versus
Yeah.
someone who's still in the prime of their life.
Yeah, you're like, okay, the last story you told me was of you hanging out with Jesus.
Yeah, you and Jesus on the Bronchiosaurus.
Exactly. So I was having a really tough time, a really, really, really hard time. And I was driving down the road, and I listened to this TED Talk that was on the TED podcast, and it was all about. It just happened to come on randomly. I don't even know how. Yeah, exactly. And it was about this woman who lost her husband at a young age, and it was just, you don't ever move on from grief, you move forward with grief. And it was so powerful to me that I pulled over in the middle of my workday, in the middle of my sales day, and I just bawled for like a half an hour, just like sobbed on the shoulder of the highway. I'm like, please God, don't let a cop come. This is going to be horrifically.
Snot's all over your face. Cops like,
Are you okay? Excuse me,
fine.
grown man. What are you doing? I'm like, and that kind of, it was really cathartic. It really helped. And then that just sent me down on this path where I somehow discovered these awesome podcasts, the first of which was Tim Ferriss. It's incredible, the content that is out there. So, I mean, the likelihood of you actually changing somebody's life is so high. Mm-hmm. It is so high. I've had people on my podcast I don't even really do anymore. Then I get a viewer message or a listener message. They're like, wow, that was incredible. This inspired me so much. I was like, I don't even try to do this yet. right?
Yeah, it just happens.
Exactly. It does.
Yeah, no. I've had a few of those with different podcasts. Like, for me, what really got me into podcasting was Kevin Smith's Smodverse. I'm a huge Kevin Smith fan. I literally have a Funko Pop of Kevin Smith. That's how much I love this man.
Have you been to Red Bank?
I have not.
Oh, man, it's like 3 hours from me.
So here's the thing. Like, I want to go to the Secret Stash. I literally was talking with Mick, who is from New Jersey, and actually served him some drinks at a function in L.A. No, at Full Sail. So Kevin Smith did a talk at Full Sail. He was going to Full Sail, and he served him a drink, but he told him off because he talked too much, because it was supposed to be a 3-hour talk, and it ended up being like 14 hours. But it's like, it's Kevin Smith. Like, I'm going to sit. Like, I've watched every, like, special of Kevin Smith that there is, because it's so inspiring. So it was his podcast and an Australian guy named Mr. Sunday Movies, who he does movie reviews with his buddy James Meso, and it's called The Weekly Planet. It's two buddies just ripping on each other about movies and all this. It's just pure fun. There's nothing but fun. And so that's what my first podcast was about. Like, I'm going to do it on movies because it's easy. Everyone has a movie podcast.
Exactly. Oh, everyone. I just added like a movie review Friday on my YouTube channel, right? But I still make it content like targeted, right?
Yeah.
It's all sales movies. And it's, so far it's a blast.
Who doesn't love movies?
We'll see how it goes. Exactly.
And they're always coming out.
Horrible people.
Horrible
people
only
don't like movies. Oh, man.
With everything you've gone through, what would you say is one of your favorite lessons, or a particular lesson you learned, either from your success or from the failures?
Oh, man.
Yeah, no, I don't do easy questions, apparently.
I kind of like had an idea you were going to ask this, but I was
it was in the pre-interview questions.
Yeah. Well, I was trying. Listen, I was trying to be like this was totally unplanned.
Off
didn't
cop.
even plan this out. Phil's that good, right?
No. I learned from Tim Ferriss in this book.
All right. So, man, I really just. I wish I knew exactly where to pinpoint that. So as far as the greatest lesson, obviously I touched on, have passion about what you're doing. If you don't have passion, get the hell out of whatever it is you're doing. Just, life is too short. Go do what you want to do. I can tell you, Okay, be flexible, right? That is probably going to be the best piece of advice I can give any either entrepreneur or future entrepreneur. And right, like you touched on, this is 2021. If anybody has had so much as a thought of being an entrepreneur, they're out there calling themselves an entrepreneur, right? And if anybody's ever had a job, they're out there saying that they know everything there is to know about business. But I got into this field completely accidentally, and I detail it in my book. And I never planned on being in sales, ever. And I never planned on making a living in sales long term. I had this dead end job, and I was miserable. I hated it. It was awful.
I feel you. I think 95% of the population feels you on that one.
I was like, I mean, you know, on paper, like from the outside looking in, you would think like, why is he complaining about that job? It sounds great. But on the inside, like 90% of us were like borderline raging alcoholics because we were just that miserable. It was like horrible shift, not so much shift work, but it was 12 on, 12 off. It was awful. I knew a guy that would literally like go home from work and drink almost a case, right? Whether he was working the next day or not. And finally, my wife, we were driving down this road in Lancaster. And if anybody listening ever comes here, it is Lancaster, not Lancaster. But
I'm going to say it wrong.
Say already. Oh, Phil.
You just said it, and I'm like, and I was just about to fit. I'm like, no, I'm going to say it wrong, so I'm going to shut up now.
We'll allow it. So I'm not bullshitting you. She literally like whipped her car into this parking lot, and I had no idea what was going on. I was like, oh.
What did I do?
Yeah, I was like, is this how it ends? Right? I was like, I know I'm dating out of my league. There's no, this is how, she's just leaving me on the side of the road.
She's finally come to a realization. The love potion's off. I'm done.
I always said my wife is the greatest sale I ever made. Always. And it was a car dealership. And she goes, go inside. I was like, why the hell would I go inside a car dealership? She's like, it says they're hiring. I don't care what the position is. You got to get out of this job. I can't do it. I'm going to leave you. Go inside. And I'm like, oh.
Well, I have no choice now.
Happy Tuesday to me, right? So I go inside, and I said, I'm here to apply. And he said, oh, the sales position. I'm like trying to play it cool. I'm like, yeah, that one. Of course, exactly. Look at me. How would I not be here for the sales position? Right? And they interviewed me on the spot. And I was like, okay. And it was so cliche. Like the one sales manager gave me like the Wolf of Wall Street, sell me this pen. I was like, come on. I didn't know how to sell a pen. I didn't know how to sell anything. I'm sitting here thinking, why do you want me to sell you a pen? You have a pen right in front of you, right?
Why do you need more?
Exactly. Like, come on. But they ended up hiring me on the spot. And they said, when can you start? And I said, I literally looked at her. I said, look, this is your poor decision, not mine. Right? I said exactly what I said. I said, if you want me, I'll start tomorrow. And he's like, all right, you start tomorrow. Come back. And I get in the car and I was like, so I think I gotta quit my other job. And she's like, I'm so proud of you. What are you doing? I said, I'm in sales. She's like, oh, that's such a good career for you. And I had no idea. I had never sold anything. I had no clue. And then I got that first commission. And I went, son of a bitch, I'm a salesman. Right? I said, I've always been a salesman. I'm going to be a salesman the rest of my life. And then life took me here. Now I'm teaching people to sell. I'm going into companies and corporations, and I'm reworking their entire sales strategy. And it's just, I wanted to be a lawyer. Right? I did. I wanted to be a lawyer for the longest time. In fact, so much so, Phil, that before I started my company, even while I was in sales, I still wanted to be a lawyer, and I was going to school to work towards a law degree. Wow. And I started this company, and it hit. It was like the aha moment, right? The epiphany. I listened to what one of my customers said, and it's one of my very first customers, and I sat there in my car after it, and I just went, I don't want to be a lawyer. This is it. I said, I'm loving what I do. I look forward to going to work every day. This is great. So be flexible. If you think that you know what you want to do, odds are you don't. It just happens out of nowhere. Nowhere.
Yeah, no, it hit me out of nowhere as well. I was like, when I was trying to be an entrepreneur, no idea. I'm like, look, I know how to podcast. I might as well make a podcast for entrepreneurs. And then the first episode I record is with Donnie Bovin from Texas, the badass champion of networking. And he's like, you should be doing this. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I didn't know I could make money. And then all of a sudden, I just look online. I see so many people saying, I can help you podcast. I'm like, no, you can't. Your podcast is a year old. What do you know about podcasting?
It's so interesting. It really is. The whole entrepreneurial world. It takes such an odd personality, right? And sales takes you can't even describe the right personality
my
for
father
sales.
worked in life insurance. Well, he was a financial advisor, except he worked with millionaires and billionaires and big guys like that. So they were buying insurance to offset the taxes when they die. So the estate tax. So their estate wouldn't be touched. The insurance policy would just cover all that. So the clients were already willing to buy it. It wasn't like going to mom and dad down the street trying to sell them insurance. It was like, look, I'm going to save your money for your estate. That's what I'm doing. And he was an amazing salesman, but
Let me tell you what, I've had some interesting sales that I've made, both in my current role and when I was actively selling other products. Man, holy Lord, there's all those jokes that go around, like, if you show a picture of a 29-year-old in sales, he'll look like a 79-year-old in the normal life.
yeah.
And I mean, whew, I've done cold calling, I've done door to door, you name it, I've done it, man. I've got stories.
It's insane. It's an insane world. You have to be, first of all, you have to have thick skin because you're going to get the no's. The no's are out of the place. And you also have to be ready just to keep moving by. But when you're moving past any of the negatives, the no's or anything like that, you need to know how to anticipate that no and answer that no's actual question. Because it's not a no, it's I don't know. And so
every objection is an opportunity.
Yeah, that's all it is. And as long as you're not pushy and you're working with the person for them to understand, then the sales, that sale will lead to at least 2 more sales.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, that's kind of a turning point for me. And this story you can edit out if you want, but
No, it's staying in. Only bad things get edited out. Good things like this stay in.
Oh, it's gonna be the longest episode you do, Phil.
Highly doubt it. If it goes over 90 minutes, then yes.
So, this was such a big moment in my sales career, and it happened very, very, very early. It was at the very same car dealership, right? My first sales job, and I literally get emotional every time I hear this story. I was sitting there. I can say sitting there because now they can't fire me when I say I was sitting down, not actively trying to get customers, right? I'm just like, I don't care.
Fire. What are you going to do? Cut my commission? I haven't worked for you in years.
Yeah, what are you going to do? Not buy my book?
You lose.
Exactly. And this sweet little old lady came hobbling through the door. And she's behind her. She had a cane. And behind her was this, older couple, but younger than her. And the couple turned out to be her daughter and her son-in-law who were there with her. And I help her over to a desk. We didn't have our own desks. We just picked one. And I'm asking her the obligatory questions. What are you looking for in a car? What brings you out today? And I was just doing what I
car salesman.
Exactly. And she's answering the questions, and she's just, it looked like somebody just kicked her puppy in front of her. Right? She just looked so sad. Just, I'd like something safe. And there we go. Is that better?
Yep.
Beautiful. I wonder why it does that. It's only StreamYard this happens to me, but it's every time. But anyway, so I stop the questioning and I say, ma'am, I kind of get the feeling that you're not having fun, right? Because I was very observant. I could see the old lady that was like, this is the worst thing I've ever had to do.
Yeah,
I'm like,
she's like, I don't want to be here.
yeah, I'm like, you don't look happy. And she says, well, I'm not really thrilled about buying a car, having to buy a car. And I said, okay. I said, I have to be honest. I said, that's not something somebody says to me, right? And I said, I'm still pretty new, but what's going on? And she said, my husband was killed in a car accident 2 weeks ago.
Whew.
And I'm like, oh, well, this night went to shit real quick, right? Right?
Hold on, I'm just gonna bye.
Yeah. I was like, man, I can't catch a break. And I could see the pain in her eyes, and I was just, oh my gosh, this is awful. And she says he was killed in our only car. I'm like,
Wow,
great,
like,
right?
challenge upon challenge.
Yeah, I'm like, well, thank God you're here, right?
Yeah,
thank
let's
God
get you in
I
another
get you.
car to save your life for when you crash.
The green around the gills salesman, right? No idea what I was doing. Just I was basically like memorized a script and was kind of selling that way. And I just looked at her and I said, look. And internally, I made a decision that I wasn't going to be that salesman, right? Yeah, the pushy salesman that was going to, basically say what every other salesman says. Because at that point, I didn't give a shit about the sale. Right? I stopped. I didn't care. I didn't care about the commission. I didn't give a shit. And I said, listen, this is the car I recommend for you, based on what you told me in these questions. And I said, I'm not going to put you through a test drive unless you absolutely want to test drive the vehicle. But it sounds like you've had enough to deal with and you just kind of want this process to move forward. And she says, yeah, I do. And I said, okay. I said, give me a minute. And I stand up. I walk into my sales manager's office and I said, I need you to trust me. He says, what do you mean? And I explained the situation, and I said, I need you to give this to her at cost. And I said, I can't make that decision. Mm-hmm. I don't have that power. I said, if you want to scream at me, fine. If you want to fire me, fine. But I can't go out at full price for it with her. I'm not going to put this woman through the negotiation process, right? And he says, I understand. And he was an awesome guy, awesome sales manager. And he blew the car out, which is, offering it at cost. Dealership basically, lost money. We paid for the shipping. And I walked back out and I put the deal sheet face down so she couldn't see it. And I said, before I turn this over, I want to tell you that I am so genuinely sorry for the pain that you have gone through in the past couple of weeks. And I wish you would be in here buying a car for me under any other circumstance, because I can genuinely see how heartbroken you are. And I am so sorry. And I said, I am not going to make you go through the negotiation process. And I said, I turned the paper over and I said, here's the full price of the car, like we discussed. And I said, this number down here is what we paid for the car, and that's what I'm going to charge you. If you want to buy the car, I will sell it to you for what we got it for. And she just started to cry. And her daughter's behind her and her son-in-law, and they're just, silent the whole time. And she says, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And again, I didn't even care. I didn't care that I just sold a car. I didn't care. I was happy to be able to take at least some sort of stress off this poor woman's face, right? And her daughter and her son-in-law helped her back out to the vehicle they came in, because the car would be ready the next day. And the daughter and son-in-law walked in and said, sir, you treated my mother better than I think I've ever seen somebody treat her in my entire life. And she said, I would have never expected to get that from a car salesman. And she said, I want you to do me a favor. We're both in the market for new cars. I want you to have 2 more ready. And we'll do all the paperwork tomorrow. Top tier, full price. We don't want discounts. We're just so thankful for how you treated our mother. And I said, you don't have to do that. Right? I don't want you to feel obligated. I didn't do it because I wanted a sale.
You wanted
she
to
needed
help
a
someone.
win.
Someone was in need. You're a human being. You're helping out a human being.
Yeah. And they insisted, and they didn't have to twist my arm that much, right?
You sure?
I mean,
yeah, okay. Hold on.
You don't have to. I want to. Got it. I'm on it.
Done.
And that was a big moment for me because, one, I saw that I could break that stigma that's around sales, and 2, I saw that when you put your customer before your commission, which not many people do. I mean, even still today, there's so many people that are looking at the commission instead of the customer. I made such an impact on her that I'd still be sitting here telling the story today, even if they didn't buy 2 other fully loaded ones, because it was the right thing to do, and up to that point, I had always kind of shied away from saying I was in sales, and I definitely shied away from saying I was in car sales. Because, my God, people look at me and be like, oh, you're going to sell me a car that's wheel's going to fall off halfway down the street.
Yeah.
And that's the moment that I can take pride in saying I was a salesperson. So, that's big. I don't care if you're in sales or any other industry. Put your customer first. Put your customer before your product, before your service. That's how you have to do it.
It's true. And the story isn't echoed by another former guest, but the sentiment of putting your customer first is echoed by actually the doctor of customer service, Dr. Kelly, who teaches people how to increase their profit by just having better customer service.
Just being decent.
Yeah.
Right. It's insane. And it says a lot. It really does say a lot about the world in general that has to really be taught, honestly. But it is what it is. It's tough. Everybody's out there trying to make a living.
It is, and everybody, if you're helping someone, it's going to come back. Karma, I know for a fact, karma works. I've gotten good karma. I've gotten bad karma. 2020. If 2020 didn't teach us about karma, I don't know what year will.
Oh man, have you? Did you watch Death to 2020
yes.
on Netflix? Oh man, that was the best thing I've ever seen in so long. Like that was the best way to end COVID, end 2020. Yeah. I was like, this is great.
Yeah, it touched on everything we needed. It touched on all the major events and allowed us to all just breathe again, understand, we're in this together. We can laugh again.
It was so needed. Mm-hmm. It was. That's why I'm so glad to see things starting to slowly
come back,
slowly open back. They just, I think it was Target and Costco just lifted their mask restrictions down here.
We're not lifted the mask restrictions yet. However, we have dropped the vaccination to 25 and plus. So I got mine yesterday. So I'm 5G enabled, which is nice.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't have any side effects. I had a slight craving for human flesh, but it was fine. Yeah. It was fine. My daughter had the biggest problem with that, but
they'll learn. They'll learn.
It's so interesting because one of the businesses that I'm involved in is called Cold Tour Trips, and it's just this world-class travel package. They go from their big tours in Jordan, and the price is just astronomically low, and the stuff you get is just insane. And they've been waiting and waiting and waiting to finally be able to really launch. And it's just awesome to see the resilience of these people that want to be entrepreneurs, and they just dig their feet in and they say, nothing's going to stop me from my dream. I'm going to get out there and I'm going to take it. And I just happen to get lucky and say the right thing one day.
Yeah. Well, it not only get lucky, you help, like your first thing you learned, well, not you learned, but a lesson you learned was like helping a customer who was in pain get through something that's usually a pain in the ass to get done, because we've all bought a car from those salesmen, and it's like, when I bought my first
you're
car,
like, come on.
yeah, I bought my first car. My dad came with me because he didn't want me to get screwed. The salesman didn't even talk to me. He talked to my dad, and my dad's like, I'm not buying the car. It's him. Talk to him. And at that point, I'm like, thank you, goodbye. And we walked down the street pretty much to it was a Honda dealership where I had gotten my previous car. You know, like my dad had been going there for a while and trusted the place. And I'm like, no, I don't like, the guy didn't even talk to me. Like, yeah, I'm a 20-year-old, but still, like, I'm the one paying for this car. Go down to the Volkswagen dealership, and the guy's like, who's buying? You are? Okay, come with me. And it was like my dad was forgotten about, and he took me through everything. And it was like,
man,
yes.
I did. I learned so much in that industry. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'll be flat out, man. I miss it sometimes. I do. There are times where I'm sitting there and I'm like, if I'm between clients or I'm taking a little bit of a break, which is like, the fact that I'm even able to say break is like fantastic, man. Even when I say break, I'm still in there and my mind is just like,
your mind's focused on the work,
exactly.
but your
that would be
body's
a good
relaxing.
idea. Yeah, I'm just sitting there chilling, and then I'm like, that would be awesome for my viewers. This would be a great idea for a book. This is exactly what I want to do. My wife's just like, shut up and just sit still, right? But sometimes I'm like, I know I could go back to that dealership. I know I could, and they would let me sell in a heartbeat, right? And one of these days I'm going to do it, just to go back and just do it one more time.
You know what? That would make a great video if you get their permission to film a day in the life of a salesman, so that other people can learn some of the great techniques.
That is a really good idea.
Yeah,
that is.
Like, go back to your roots and like try different
credit
things.
to the podcast mogul.
There we go. I'm always, when it comes to creative content, like, I'm everywhere. I'm just thinking everything is possible. Anything can be filmed and loved.
That would be a great idea. That really would.
And it gets you.
Oh man, I had so much fun doing that. I mean, I have fun in sales in general.
Sales is fun because every day is a new day. It's a new challenge to come to. And if you're not challenged,
Exactly.
it's boring.
Exactly. There's just something about it. Like, again, I wanted to be an attorney. I knew I wanted to be a constitutional law attorney. I was big into politics. I was hanging out with the governor.
You wanted to go real boring into life.
Oh yeah, I did. I'm not kidding you. Well, that's actually really interesting that I just brought that up. So like, my political, we'll say, career, or maybe involvement is a better word, took off in the same way that my professional life did, and it just clicked now as we were speaking. So one day, a friend of mine took me to an event for a guy that was running for
Office.
Yeah, office, right? some position, and the guy, and after it, this guy and I struck up a conversation, and we became good friends. And now he's, we'll say, very high-ranking politician.
Making those connections, huh? Whenever you need to be bailed out, right?
Like exactly, right? But completely unintentional. And next thing I know, I'm like sitting at dinner with the governor, and I'm like, how does this happen? And then you look at my professional life, and it's like that age-old adage: you work your ass off for years to become an overnight success. Yep. And then when that overnight success moment happens, you're like, what the fuck? What the hell's going on?
Why didn't this happen like 3 years ago when I needed it?
Exactly. But you take it and you run with it. And in the case of the Slaymaker method, it has been, I don't want to say 0 to 60. I feel like I need to say like 0 to warp speed. I mean, every day, no matter how big these clients are that I land, no matter how much fun I'm having, putting a book out that completely unintentionally goes to a #1 bestseller, it's insane. It's just, okay, my mind isn't, wow, that's amazing, look at everything I've done. My mind is in that growth mindset, and I go, okay, how do I build on it? How do I go even bigger? How do I take the next step? How do I deliver more value for my customers and my listeners? And it's crazy. It's crazy how stuff just happens like that.
Yeah, no, like the client that I just landed, he was a guest on my podcast, because he was sharing his story about being in the entrepreneurial world for 25 years. now running a great startup incubator in France, the largest rural incubator in France, or I think in the world.
Awesome.
And I'm like, do you have a podcast? And he's like, no. I'm like, you should, because your story is amazing. And I'm like, let me help you get on a few podcasts. Because I have podcasts in my network from 6 years. Started putting him out. Putting him on other podcasts, and then he reached out to me. He's like, look, we're going to be starting a network, and I want your help. And I'm like, okay. And that was like a few months ago. And I'm like, cool, no problem. Touch base every once in a while. And then we just had the meeting earlier today. He's like, okay, we're going to go light speed. Let's go now. What is your price? And I'm like, I don't know, this. And he's like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'll send me the bill tomorrow. And I'm like,
yeah. Well, that's another good point that we can give our viewers. I'm sure you've had other guests that have, pounded on this. Know your value.
yeah,
Know your value, and listen. Stick to that value, because if you can absolutely deliver the value that you think you're worth, somebody will pay it.
yeah. And
A lot of people won't. A lot of people will not.
Nope.
But some will, and then after they do, more will.
Yeah, because you have that other person behind you saying, like, you're having that credibility of that client and all the work that you've done for them and their testimonials and all that.
Yeah.
That just adds to it. And for me, it was actually, I had a meeting with another entrepreneur about maybe possibly getting coached by them, because I never lived in the world of paying like 5Gs, 10Gs for courses or anything like that. Like, I come from like middle class, like 5Gs is like, that's a lot of money sometimes. And it's like,
I don't care how big you get, that's a lot of money.
Yeah. So I was like, always like, I'm like, and the people I live and surround myself with, they think it's a lot of money. So like me charging that to people, I'm like, oh, I feel like I'm ripping them off and that. But no, he's like, dude, most businesses, if it's not at this level, we're not even considering it. And I'm like,
Oh yeah.
oh, I've been looking at this all wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. I have to. It's again another lead in, because you're awesome, Phil.
6 years, man. 6 years.
My photographer, videographer. We had this just the other day. She even said, she's like, my God, I see you filming these prospecting videos, right? Because that's one of my things. I will film a prospecting video instead of just dialing a number. It's COVID. Everybody's been on the screen a while. Take advantage of it. Use it. They can see my face. They can see my expressions. That's how I will actively prospect when I'm going after these real big name clients. Mm-hmm. Well, she sees me doing this, and she even said, she's like, my God, I'm sitting here thinking, what am I doing? You're going after these companies that are, I don't want to mention them by name right now, but we're talking like tens and hundreds of billions of dollars in revenue a year, right? She goes, you're just blasting away for these people. And I said, yeah. And she goes, well, I don't know why I don't have that confidence. And I said, let me tell you why I have that confidence, okay? Because if I send that tape to, that tape, you would talk about just dating myself. That was it right
I was
there.
like, that's a normal thing. Like, we still talk like that, right?
That tape. I have a teenage daughter, and she's like, which again, I'm 17, and she, like, I'll say something, she's like, what is a VHS?
Oh,
like,
God.
I will hit you. Right?
I grew up on that. Stop it.
Yeah, exactly. But I said, my life isn't going to be different if this person doesn't get back to me. If this person doesn't get my services, you know what's going to happen? I'm still going to go home to my wife and kids. I'm still going to have my business. And I'm still going to know that I'm worth it. Mm-hmm. I said, that's all the confidence you need. That's it. And then she also said she wishes she could work with more people whose ego was like mine. And then I was like, I'm not sure how I feel about that.
That's a subtle dig. I don't know how I feel about that one.
Yeah. That's like when my doctor left me a note I went to see my doctor a few weeks ago, and she had like a health portal app or whatever. And at the end of her message, she's like, yeah, I think these results look good, but maybe losing a little bit of weight might help these numbers. And I called her. I was like, yeah, got it loud and clear, doc. Thanks.
Thanks for like rubbing it in my face,
She's like, listen, I'm not saying you're fat, but
you're close. You're not skinny either.
Oh man, I love it.
Um, let's touch on your book for a short bit,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
we'll jump into the final closing of this. What made you want to write a book? Like, was that something you've always wanted?
Yeah, yes. That's something I've wanted to do for a long, long time. And I don't mean in a sales aspect and in a professional aspect. I just wanted to write a book. I love to write, love to write. And then when I started doing my blog and stuff like that, I was just like, oh man, and I'm in college and I'm writing, and I'm just like, God, I'd really love to write a book. So all really, this is not the first book I've written, right? I also wrote a mafia book.
Ooh, so a nonfiction.
Sucks. It's awful. It is the worst shit I've ever read, right? Ever. And so that will never get released. And I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, you know what? I've got all this stuff written. I have about a 180-page book written, like a big release, really in depth, big. But I'm sitting there, I'm like, all these people keep asking me if I have like ebooks and stuff like that out, and I was like, I can do that. Let's do it. And I wanted to do something that I could really give back, right? I didn't want to make it super salesy. I didn't want to make it, you have to close them. You've got to use, contrast theory and all that other crap. I wanted to just do something for the person that was thinking they wanted to get into sales. I wanted to give them something that I wish would have been told to me, because it would have made my career much easier and I would have been more successful much earlier. But I said, okay, let's do it. Let's just knock it out, and I'll edit it. I'll put it up on Amazon, and that'll be it. If somebody buys it, awesome. Because I still I'm still at that point where I still can't believe the amount of success that I've seen. I still think I'm just this, skinny, well, formerly skinny kid from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And I put it out there, and I'm sitting there the next day, excuse me, and my old coach, actually, he's still one of my mentors. I love the guy. Even though if you ask me, I'll tell you I'm better than him any day. Right? So in case he in case he hears it, I know he will. But I actually, no, it wasn't him. It was my best friend. He texted me, and he's like, hey, have you checked Amazon? I was like, no. Why the hell would I check Amazon? Right? I don't need to buy anything. And he's like, no, you might want to go check your book. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So I pulled up my phone, and it was like, I had to put my eyes back in my head. Right? It said #1 in business short reads, and I was like, my first instinct was, how does the biggest company in the world make a screw up that big? Right? I was like, God, who's writing this crap? Like, how did this happen? And then I looked down, and it said I was number 3 in the sales and selling category, which is a much bigger category.
Holy shit!
And I'm looking at the other titles in this category, and I'm like, this can't be right. There's something wrong here. And I pulled up the actual web page on my computer, and I pulled the list up, and sure enough, there I am in the #1 and #3. And I'm just like, this is crazy. That's why I said I'm an accidental bestseller. And now that just opened a ton of more floodgates. I've got people calling me wanting to do book signings, and I'm like, you guys are nuts.
I'm a nobody from
Right.
Lancaster. What's going on?
Right? I said, well, I've worked with I've worked with people in companies in New Zealand, and Australia. I've been doing stuff all over the world, but it's still just mind-boggling to me. Mind-boggling. But I love it. But anyway, the book is called So You Think You Can Sell: What You Need to Know Before Making the Jump into Sales, or something like that for the subtitle. That's how I still can't believe it. And it really is. It's geared for two types of people. It is geared towards people that are thinking of getting into sales, and it is geared towards managers and owners who are going to be wondering, who really want to know what their current salespeople are thinking. All right, there we go. So that's who I wrote it for, and it's a short read. It's shouldn't take you more than a half hour to read, and it's really packed with information and advice that I wish I would have gotten. Like kind of like the story I told today. Put the customer first. Every single time you go into a sales meeting or sales call, don't worry about your commission. You worry about how you're going to help that customer. And that's just one of the many things that are in my, short little book. And I'm releasing a bunch more on all steps of my process.
That's
but
genius.
I mean, if I still can't believe it. Can't believe it. Somebody's like, "Oh, you're a bestseller." you can call me that, but
Sure, my ego can handle it.
Exactly. It's great. It's fantastic. People are going to see this and be like, "Yeah, I can definitely see why he's in sales."
His ego's big enough for it.
Yeah.
So we're coming up. I want to finish up here. I have two questions. What is a lesson you want to leave my audience with? If they take away anything, what are they taking away from this episode?
Yeah. All right. This is going to be deep. So everybody listening, hold on, buckle up, because I'm about to rock your world. Try. That's it. If I didn't try, I would have never started my business. If I didn't try, I would have never wrote my accidental bestseller. I would have never worked with some of the people and names that I've worked with. I would have never reached where I'm at in my life if I didn't try. I wouldn't have gotten my wife if I didn't try.
I think that's
Right,
every man's journey.
Oh man. Every time I wake up, I'm like, you are
the day
terrible. Yeah, I said every time I'm like, man, this woman is a terrible judge of character. Every time, like, I still don't know how I did this. I'm a great salesperson. I love sales, but even this one confuses me.
I don't know how I sold it. I locked it down, but I'm glad I did.
If you ask me, I'll just be like, I lied.
Like most men.
She's like, you didn't tell me you liked wrestling. I was like, well, you didn't ask, so it's not a lie.
True.
Exactly.
So the next two questions are: what is, apart from your book, what book do you recommend entrepreneurs or people trying to get into entrepreneurship should go?
Oh, I listen. There's, it's if I have to pick just one, it's Green Lights.
Green Lights
with from Matthew McConaughey. I mean that book is a just emotional gut punch that will either get you to realize you're on the right path or you need to get on the right path. That book is amazing.
I always ask this question, not only for my audience, but more for me, because I love learning from successful people. And if they're reading these books, I got to read these books. So I'm glad
that's my number one.
All right.
I mean, other than So You Think You Can Sell.
Yeah, of course. That's 1 and 2 right there. But another thing that I'm just starting is your favorite entrepreneur movie, or a movie that you feel could help entrepreneurs. Seeing as how you have a new section.
Man. This won't be a short answer, brother.
It's all right.
This won't be a short answer. All right, so this is gonna make me sound so bad.
Oh God.
I know it. We might have to do 2 answers, and then we can figure out what you want to put in. Ultimately, The Wolf of Wall Street.
It's a great movie because there is a lot of lessons in it.
Yes. I read the book, The Wolf of Wall Street, long before I watched the movie. Obviously, I read the book when it first came out. I was young. I wasn't even in sales. And Jordan Belfort's story is just, you want to talk about a hustler.
Yeah.
Right? From his, selling water ices on the beach and his seafood stuff to starting Stratton Oakmont. I mean, he had, as we say in my lovely, religious upbringing, kinda, chutzpah. He had some serious chutzpah, man. I mean, it's incredible. Now, Jordan went down a little bit of a rocky path, did some things I would not recommend. I just want to make that clear.
So you're saying Quaaludes not a good idea to drive on?
Yeah, the Quaaludes and the fraud and embezzling, I would recommend not doing. Okay. I would say those are the things you should not do. But you look at where Jordan is now too, and And that's incredible. That's awesome because he's still selling. He's teaching to sell. I've got his book on my bookshelf, The Way of the Wolf. And it's just incredible. Incredible. It's such an awesome movie.
It is. With so many great lessons, and of course Leonardo DiCaprio is an amazing actor. He knocks it out of the park. So
I mean, everyone in that movie, everyone from Jonah Hill, I mean, that's why I had to laugh, because when I got in sales, The Wolf of Wall Street hadn't come out yet. So when my future sales manager said, "Here, sell me this pen," I was like, "Oh, Dave, I've read the book. Come on,
I know this. Come on,
this is stupid, right?" But other than that, I think I would say The Goods.
Oh, with Jeremy
Piven.
Yeah.
So it's not really an entrepreneur movie, right? It's more of a funny car sales movie. But the biggest lesson in that, and I recorded a review of The Goods. I recorded a review of The Goods and Suckers. And then by the end of each video, I was like, I can't put this on my channel. I can't, right? But for The Goods, it shows how much fun you can have in business, right? So you saw the competitive streak with him and Ed Helms, trying to sell the Bandit car. But you saw all these like larger than life ideas, and you just saw the team having so much fun. And that is such a huge lesson, an important takeaway, that you need to love what you do. You need to have fun doing what you do.
Yeah. No, both of them are staying in because they're both relevant and very to the point.
They're fantastic.
They are.
And Suckers too. And if anybody wants just a really good, vulgar, horrifically offensive sales movie, watch Suckers. I'm not even going to say some of the quotes. It's horrifically offensive. But you know what? That's the good thing about being the boss. Nobody can fire me, right?
That's right.
Right.
No one can.
Suckers is hysterical. If you've been in the car industry, it's really only going to be funny if you've been in the car sales industry. But it is hysterical.
Well, I love movies, so I'm still going to watch it and see and get at least half of the jokes probably.
Oh man, I'm like you, dude. I love movies. I love movies.
I'm gonna have you on my one of my other many movie podcasts on, anyways.
Phil, we'll have a blast.
Oh yeah, Kyle, we're coming to the end. We use a longer episode than normal, but it's fine because these episodes are. You're the Slaymaker. Sorry.
That's all right. Call me whatever you want.
You're a grouchy old man.
I'll get there. I'm there. I'm there.
Yeah. I'm going to jump off screen here. I'm going to give you a chance to just tell my audience where they can find you, how they can get your book, and everything else, so that they can learn your method and become the next great Jordan Bell, if you will.
Oh man.
All right.
Man, if only.
Here you go.
All right. So yeah, awesome. So very simple. All of my social media is going to be the same. Instagram is at Slaymaker Method. I am on TikTok now, much to the chagrin of my awesome 15-year-old daughter. That is also at the Slaymaker Method. Website www.theslaymakermethod.com. I have a Twitter. I never use it, ever. Other than that, you can find me on Facebook and YouTube. Both just search the Slaymaker Method. So tons of content is always put out. There's new YouTube videos every single day. So that's the best way to find me. And of course, you can get my book, So You Think You Can Sell, available on Amazon in both ebook and paperback.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Of course, links are in the show notes down below because I want you to connect with him and maybe he'll help you grow to the next level of your journey. Kyle, thank you again for being on the show. It was a pleasure talking with you. So much knowledge shared and great stories that actually resonate with me, which, of course, most of them do, but I really felt most of these stories that you shared with us here on the show, so I thank you again. And I want my audience to remember, invest in yourself and maybe invest in Kyle, and he'll help you.
Definitely invest in me, but more importantly, seriously, invest in yourself. I don't care what your career is, just invest in yourself. It's a game changer.
Hey, I want to thank you so much for listening to the episode. I had such a great time talking with our guest. Now, I have one simple favor to ask of you. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a family member or a close friend so that they can learn from this amazing entrepreneur. I thank you so much for being a fan of the show and just being an amazing human being. And I can't wait to see you guys on the flip.
Thanks for tuning in. Now it's time to take the next step. When you're ready to dive deeper into how to launch, grow, and monetize your podcast, Phil's got something special for you. Join him for a free webinar where he'll reveal the 3 secrets that have helped countless entrepreneurs succeed in podcasting. Click the link in the show notes to save your spot, and let's turn your podcasting dreams into reality.